Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. Thank you for being here tonight and welcome to our series of More Than Just Money, a series for anything that is Islamic finance related. Let me firstly introduce myself. My name is Nurul Iman Najib. I'm a candidate of Master in SEF and I'll be your host for tonight. Islamic Finance in Singapore, or IFRSG, is a community of scholars, finance professionals, and students in Islamic finance. What started as a WhatsApp group has now become a society in the making with a long-term goal to serve the Singaporean community through Islamic finance. Tonight, I'm honored to share this platform with Dr. Hazik with an interesting topic, digitalization of the modern Islamic economy and what it offers. Dr. Hazik is a multi-skilled professional with a substantial and varied experience in strategy, innovation, and operational leadership roles. He has over 20 years of working experience and has spent over 12 years building startups and business consulting, where he has consulted for MSMEs and MNC on various business-related issues. Dr. Hazik is the published author of Belief and Rule Compliance, from Academia Press 2018 on behavioral economics and blockchain, fintech, and Islamic finance in 2019, and Beyond Fintech in 2020. On tech application for the economy. His wide research interests include financial inclusions, sustainable development, new technology for disruptive socio-economy advancement. Currently, he's working on business growth strategies for startups and engaged in various consulting projects. Despite his hectic schedule, he finds time to teach economic ideas and models for business and essential for financial management at SUSS. He was also recently appointed to design the Islamic finance module which will be offered in July 2022. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dr. Hazik. Sorry, doctor, I think you are on mute.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so with today's topic, let us start with an introductory question, doctor. What does it really mean when we talk about Islamic economy? Is it a version of economy that is all halal, or is it utopia that we hope to achieve someday?
Okay, this is a very important and very good question. Basically, the Islamic economy is the Islamic version of the economy. Right now, when we go to school and when we learn economic systems, what we do is we learn the conventional economic systems, which is fine. It's just that for Islamic economics, the Muslim version of economics or the economic system, we have an additional layer which we call Sharia compliance, or we need to abide with a governing set of rules that's laid down by the Sharia. So the sources of the Sharia are the Quran and the Sunnah. So these are the things that has been prescribed by our Maker, the Almighty, and it's divine knowledge. So there's, it cannot be wrong. So there's a lot of wisdom that can be extracted from there, so that we can create a system beyond even an economic system, or a system beyond economics, including the financial system, that is sound, that is fair, that is just, that will ensure that everyone prospers and prospers equally. So Islamic economics is not only making everything or halalizing everything that's from the conventional world. It doesn't work that way. I think there are some corners of the Muslim community that has approached this issue this way, especially in Islamic finance, and we call it the Islamization of knowledge. And sooner or later they will realize that they run into certain problems. So in order to manifest the vision of the Islamic economy, which includes Islamic finance, as laid down in the Quran and Sunnah, We have to, study or create an Islamic economic study very, very seriously. Just like in economics, you have many theories, right? You have supply and demand, you have, multiplier effect, you have all that. We don't have to reinvent all of these things. These are things that from the secular or conventional world, they have observed of the world that has been created by the Almighty. So those theories and which are sound can be retained. It's just that for us to be considered credibly by ourselves and the world beyond the Muslim world, we have to make significant contribution to economics and to create a better economic system, a better financial system. We can't go around and say that okay, Islamic finance is good because the Quran and Sunnah say so and all that, right? We know that for a fact, but in order to convince people that don't believe, we have to demonstrate a better system, right? Just like when you view startups.
Is it a new theories, doctor? Is it a new way of looking at supply or demand? Because supply is demand is there, and then we're just embedding principles, and then it has its Islamified picture of it.
I guess the like supply and demand is like foundation, right? So the foundation is there. What we need to do is we need to add on to what's already existing that even the non-Muslims can use.
Yes.
Because Islam was or brought to us, right? The message was brought to us as a human race. It wasn't brought only to Muslims, right? We became Muslims because we believe in the message, but the message was essentially brought down for everyone. So likewise, when we approach Islamic economics, we are supposed to create a better system that everybody will benefit. It's fair to everyone. It's going to be just. So any problems with the current economic or financial system, the solution is in the Quran and Sunnah. It's up to the scholars, who need to be well versed in economics and finance, not only the Sharia, right? We need to be multidisciplinary. Once you reach to that level, then you can add on to, because economics is not a simple topic, right? It's constantly evolving. It involves human beings, and anything that involves human beings can be quite complex.
Yeah. So
we need to bring this beauty of Islam that we constantly talk about, and instead of preaching and telling people, we need to demonstrate through behaviors and through the practice in our system and things like that. So I think if we approach Islamic economics this way, then it will be sustainable, and we would be regaining our golden age.
That's a very strong statement, Doctor. We are going to gain back our golden age, mashallah, inshallah. All right, thank you so much, Doctor. Now let's proceed to the next question. How about Islamic Fintech then? Is there such a thing as Islamic Fintech, or is it just meant to portray Fintech initiative in the Islamic space? Because we understand that for something to be called Islamic, there must be a Sharia vetting process. But what if the technology application is on a new area which Sharia vetting processes have not been established? Wouldn't that lead to a commoditization of the Islamic term, Doctor?
Right. Yeah, there's always that danger. That's a very strong point. For me, I view Islamic Fintech as just like Islamic finance, Islamic economics, Islamic anything, right? Especially in technology, Fintech is financial technologies, but technology is broader, right? It goes beyond finance. But since we're talking about Fintech first and then Islamic Fintech, technology is actually agnostic. It's just a tool. We use it to fix, to make things better, to make things more efficient, to make ourselves more productive and things like that through AI, through blockchain, through IoT. We leverage the specialization of each of these different technology, and then we integrate it for use to solve a certain problem. This is how I view technology, because I practice. My bachelor's was in engineering, and I practiced as an engineer for 10 years before I went into finance, master's in conventional finance and PhD in Islamic finance. So I have a strong understanding because I practice as a technologist, and then now I'm practicing as a finance person. So fintech to me comes naturally. So I view fintech is just a way of making products better, cheaper, more efficient, so that it will benefit everybody. And we term it Islamic fintech because Islamic fintech is supposed to create solutions within the space of Islamic finance, because fintech is still within the finance space, using technology to make Islamic finance more efficient, more productive, and cost reduction. So this is how I view Islamic fintech. We should not, ride on the popularity of, Islamic fintech, and just beat the horse to death, right? Just like, these days, anybody that hears blockchain, or, if you want to get funded, just stuff the word blockchain in there, or just use blockchain in some superficial way so that you try to get funded. That shouldn't be the approach, right? If you hear that kind of advice, I think those are the kind of advice that you should put aside first, right? The right kind of advice that I feel should be given is you use the technology that is the right technology to solve the problem that you are trying to overcome. This is the correct approach from a technologist or from an engineering standpoint, right? For instance, we have cars. Cars has been around for decades, right? Each version has to be better in some sense, right? Yes. Not only move faster and all that, it has to, be more fuel, more fuel efficient. We're going into more sustainability, more fuel efficient, more mileage with less petrol, or now we're going without petrol because we want to harness natural like solar and all this other stuff. So this should be the approach, right? We are supposed to make things better than before, instead of like what you say, commoditizing terms, right? Islamic fintech or blockchain or AI or things like that. We need to focus on solving problems, and then finding the right tools to solve that. If AI is the right tool to solve that, you use AI. If blockchain is the right one, you use blockchain. If IoT, you use IoT. If you don't need to use any of this, maybe a simple, enterprise software that you can buy off the shelf, that's even better, right? So we want to view things in in a very, for the lack of a better word, in a very Islamic manner. We are careful in using resources. For instance, right, the analogy can be just like when we take wudu, right? There was a hadith that says that, Rasulullah ﷺ says that you need to be careful in using water, because water is a very precious resource. And then one of the people that was there, they heard that and said, even when we take wudu, Prophet Rasulullah said, yes, even when you take wudu, if you're taking wudu next to a flowing river, even there's abundance of water, you still manage the resource carefully, right? So likewise, when we approach using technology and all these things, these are the ideas from the Quran and Sunnah that we can use to extract and demonstrate in our behaviors. This is what Islam means to me, or what Islamic means to me. So we have the term Islamic fintech, Islamic finance, Islamic economics. So that word Islamic should be all those things that we grew up learning from our madrasas and the religious knowledge that our ustaz and ustazas was trying to teach us, right? So our mind has to somehow merge these two, draw the wisdom from the Quran and Sunnah, which makes up the Sharia, and then we demonstrate that in our behaviors every day. So that when people look at us, or when we are, we are dead and we are counted for our deeds, this is what is recorded. We are careful in the use of resource. We are careful in the words that we use, how we approach things. We solve problems to benefit people beyond us. We think outside of ourselves. This is what we mean by thinking of the Ummah, right? Thinking of the Ummah doesn't mean, Prophet ﷺ think of the Ummah is because he's thinking beyond himself, right? Likewise, we can do the same, right? Not to be selfish, but to be selfless, right? Not to forget ourselves. Selfless doesn't mean you put yourself last. Selfless means you think of everyone yourself as well as those outside of yourself. So this is the Islamic part of everything that's attached to like Islamic finance, Islamic economics, Islamic fintech, Islamic whatever you want to call it, right? Islamic governance, Islamic schools, Islamic education, whatever you want to call it. This is the Islamic values and virtues that we need to bring to the table every time we mention Islamic something.
Wow, I mean, I have another perspective listening to you, Doctor. Like you broaden up the understanding of putting Islamic. It's not just, I mean, we usually just like, oh, is it going, like every time we see Islamic, is it going to be another thing that is going to be Islamified? Those type of thinking. But now, from what you have said, the perspective we can shift and look at a broadened way, like how we can be really implying to the word of like Islam is a way of life and it's everything, it comprehends of everything.
Exactly, yes.
Doctor, like you say yourself, like you have an engineering experience and you took your degree. Is it degree?
Yes, my bachelor's was in engineering.
So for like someone that is new and trying to understand Islamic finance, and then now we are going for a very quick phase of technology, industrial revolution and etc. So how one can actually grasp this whole concept together, So what's your advice?
Yeah, it's not easy because right now the trajectory of Islamic finance and now with fintech coming into the picture, and the whole digital transformation of the economy, not only the Islamic economy but the wider global economy. What I foresee is moving forward. It is not enough for you to just be specialized in a certain area. For instance, specialized in finance and then specialized in Islamic finance. The trajectory that we're moving towards is you have to be multidisciplinary, right? So if you really think about it, if you look at the golden age of Islam where we produce so many scholars, you can do this homework, right? You pick any 5 scholars that Al-Ghazali, Imam Shafi'i, whoever you like, right? Imam Abu Hanifa, Ibn Arabi, Rumi, whoever that you like. You look at their background, you will realize that all of them are multidisciplinary. The reason why they are being studied until today is because of the wealth of knowledge that they have accumulated through their life, that they can write books, they can lecture, they can talk, they become well known because of the wealth of knowledge that they have been able to share to the world, which everybody is benefiting. Like Rumi is the most read poet in the US.
Yes.
Yeah. So this contribution is not only within the Islamic world, but it's globally, right? So it's almost like for us to reclaim this big thing that you said just now, right? To reclaim our golden age was when we produced scholars who were multidisciplinary. So likewise, to me, the trajectory seems if you want to reclaim this golden age that we were proud of from the 8th century to the 12th century, we need to produce people who are more multidisciplinary. So this is also in line with producing people that are able to contribute within the digital transformation of the economy. So in order to put yourself in the best position in this era, you have to be multidisciplinary, right? So of course, it doesn't happen in one night, right? You're not Imam Mahdi who transform in one night, right? So we are normal people, so it takes time, right? So, if you're doing business, you finish your bachelor's in business, then maybe you want to do, move on to others. Now that you've mastered business, you want to move on to master economics, or you want to master finance, or you want to master engineering, or specific types of engineering like AI or blockchain or something, or coding or programming or computer science or something. So we have to approach the changing or the transformation of our economy in that sense, because many people agree that this is the trajectory that we are headed towards. And in order for us to be in a good position, we have to skill ourselves as such.
So we need to be a Muslim that is all-rounded, versatile.
Absolutely.
So that we can approach the phase that we are going through, especially in this industrial revolution, etc. So we need to be well versatile so that we can adapt and we can contribute back to the ummah accordingly.
Fantastic. Yes, fantastic. You got it. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Now, moving on. Next to your two books, you've wrote the title of Blockchain, Fintech and Islamic Finance, as well as Beyond Fintech, touch on how blockchain can be applied on Islamic finance through the use of smart contracts. And you were quite early in your proposition of blockchain application in Islamic finance. Are you satisfied with the developments of Islamic finance since then, or there is much to be achieved?
Yeah, there's a lot that we need to achieve. When I started researching on the blockchain was I think it was in 2016, and Satoshi Nakamoto created the blockchain because he wanted to create the Bitcoin. So the technology that created the Bitcoin was blockchain, and I think he never imagined that the blockchain could be used so extensively, because he just wanted to create a peer-to-peer exchange with no central authority. So for me, I was interested because in Islamic finance, during my study, one of the major things that was crucial in creating a just and fair economic system is one of the things was to be able to instill trust. So the problem that I was solving in my mind is, if I don't know the other counterparty that I'm transacting with, how do I instill trust? Because trust takes time, right? It doesn't happen overnight. So how do I use technology to make sure that you can build a trustless system, or a system where the technology enforces the trust, or something like that. So when I found blockchain, I was like, wow, this is so cool, because of the nodes verifying the information, the blocks, So it was essentially a trust mechanism for me. So I got interested because it solved one of these problems that was nagging me when I was in my mind trying to create a system that is supposed to be far superior than the current economic system. So then after that, it was just easy, because it's just the way my mind works. I just create the applications using the right technology that can enforce trust, and then you have AI that can monitor and audit. So put together, it becomes a very powerful system. So that was how I approached things. And how I wanted to demonstrate my ideas was initially I wanted to build startups to demonstrate this. But if you have been an entrepreneur or are an entrepreneur, you know that building companies take a much longer time. So while the teams are getting together and the funding is capital and funding is coming together to build those applications, what I do is I write stuff. So I write chapters or papers or articles or whatsoever, so that I don't forget, because I'm a very forgetful person. So any idea that comes to in my mind, I will start writing it down, and in my writing, I will try to develop those ideas. So I am like my worst critic, because when you are trying to write a good paper or a good article, you sort of like become your worst critic, because you want it to be airtight, your arguments and your use cases and the reasons for using or doing certain things to build the solution. It has to be airtight. So I become like the guy who's knocking my own ideas, right? Why do you do this? Why? So finally, the outcome is it becomes a strong contribution. Some people see it as a research, or some people see it as an application or whatever. And then what I did was I wanted the ideas to get out there because I know many people are interested in AI, blockchain, and all that. But what I hear them talking about is not the direction that I feel it should be going. And if they continue with that trajectory, they will hit a roadblock and it will impact, especially if they are thought leaders, it will impact Islamic finance or Islamic economics as a whole. So what I did was I compiled all this writing and I start publishing books because that was much faster than building companies. Because I can write a book within 6 months to a year, but companies take maybe 3-5 years before it gets to that stage to be fully functional and to fully contribute to the economy. So this is the reason why my books are published first, and then my companies are coming on the way. Yeah. So coming back to your original question, yes, there's a lot of things that need to be done, but I do see some headway. You see the growth of Islamic fintech companies over the years. Since 2015, I've seen them grow at quite a great speed. And the variety of solutions that, the solutions are trying to solve the different problems within our economy is also starting to vary a little bit. So I'm quite happy with the trajectory, but in terms of the rate of how it's moving, I'm a perfectionist, so there can always be, it can always be faster, there can always be better things to be done, but that's just me. As long as we are moving in the right direction, I think we are okay. We shouldn't be like, for instance, what is a bad direction? What an example of a bad direction to me is everybody's focusing on cryptocurrency. That's a bad direction to me. Because if you look at what I write about blockchain, I rarely write about cryptocurrency. It's always about tokenization, or I talk about blockchain being used as a verification tool, or being used as like a KYC or some kind of deeper, more valuable contributor to the entire sector of the economy, and not just that focus on that small subset,
of the whole blockchain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in another word, you see the bigger picture of blockchain and how blockchain in whole can contribute to the society or to the economy itself, rather than focusing and debating and arguing about this one subset, and then we cannot move on and then cannot move forward, and then nothing can be done. And then we are still the same, we are still at the same, we're still stagnant, not moving.
Exactly.
All right, okay. Thank you, Doctor. Hence, okay, with that, okay, would you say that there is enough interest in the market to justify a Sharia-compliant blockchain-based blockchain-based project? And if there is demand, is it because there is a lack of talented developers interested in developing more Sharia-compliant blockchain products? But am I right to say, Doctor, blockchain, Sharia-compliant blockchain, am I right to say that term even? Before I even start with the question, maybe is my term correct or not?
Okay, I guess what you're saying is it's almost like the halal toiban, right? You want to look at the entire process. Every minute process within the system is actually permissible according to Sharia rules and standards and things like that. Yes, I think, okay, when we create technology, whatever technology you use, especially when it's in codifying stuff, right? So when you create, for instance, an AI algorithm, nobody looks into the codes. What people look into is the performance of the AI algorithm. What is the outcome? Is it very accurate? Is it very efficient? Is it able to reduce costs and things like that? This is the outcome that people look at to judge the quality of the AI. But for Islamic applications, the additional judgment criteria or criteria that we judge by is whether it's halal or not. So when they say halal, they want to know that ethically and from a moral obligation and moral responsibility standpoint, the way you code the AI, did you do it in a forthcoming manner, or did you do it in a manner where you hide certain things? There's a backdoor for, for you to, to later siphon money or tokens or something like that. So there's an ethical and moral obligation when you create stuff which people don't see, because people only see the outcome. Nobody's going to look at lines and lines of codes because it's very complex. Even the programmers find it very tedious to do so. So in the conventional AI world, they are talking about creating an ethical framework where the AI coders themselves are governing what we call as having a self-governance framework, so that when they code something, whether people find out or don't find out, they do it ethically and not create something that later they can capitalize on through a backdoor or something like that.
Yeah.
So likewise, this ethical framework that they're talking about is actually the Sharia framework that we know, that we already know. That means this ethical and moral obligation and things like that.
Like we need to be just, we need to be transparent, we need to be honest, all those ethical that has already been thought and been mentioned in the Quran, in Sunnah. Yeah.
Yeah. And what our scholars have called as the substance of Islam, right? But what you refer to initially, like the halal blockchain-based applications, what people normally try to enforce is the form of the Sharia, not the substance of the Sharia, but the form. That means the rules, right? So they are trying to enforce the rules, but you say that maybe the rules in a regulatory framework has not even existed. So regulations are actually trying to enforce the forms, because forms you can translate to rules which people need to comply to. So that's what we call as regulatory compliance. Right? So the form of Sharia is called the Sharia compliance.
Compliance, yes.
Yeah. But that's the form of this philosophy. But in every philosophy, there's a substance and there's a form. So the substance is, what is it that you want to achieve? The principles. The principles that you want to achieve is equality, justice, engender trust, engender brotherhood, remove enmity between people and stuff. So that's the substance. That's the what we call as a principle-based system, right? If you enforce the form, it's called a rules-based system. So when we try to implement anything, we have to look at both the principle, substance and the form, the principle as well as the rules.
Okay, so interesting. So, but doctor, I have a question. If we remember, okay, blockchain is a tool, right? It's a tool to solve the economic problems, right? It's as though that we have a tool and we need to make sure how we use it ethically. That becomes Sharia, right?
Yes.
So simplify it. It's like I'm having example a hammer, for example, tool. How I use it. That is how I make it. Okay, am I using it correctly? Is it Sharia compliant according to equality and justice, right?
Right, correct.
Yes.
Another example is cryptocurrency, right? So cryptocurrency can be used as good or can be used for bad. So if you watch some Netflix documentaries, you would know that in the dark web, the internet, there's the good internet and then there's the bad internet, right? Which is called the dark web. So in the dark web, the transactions are being carried out using cryptocurrencies. So when you create something like a halal cryptocurrency, it should be used in a good sense. So exactly like what you said, it's just a tool. So the moral and ethical obligation makes us use the tool for good, not use it for bad.
All right.
That's as simple as we can put it.
All right. Thank you so much. But doctor, the question now is there any demand to this? Do you see that people are going to look, or we are lack of talent into this matter?
Yes, correct. There definitely is a demand. You look at the trajectory. If you look at the kind of capital and funding that's going into AI, blockchain, and IoT, it's amazing. Everybody wants to automate because it's faster, cheaper, more productive way to do things. And you're correct to say currently what's hindering it's already in the global arena or the conventional space. This technology and advancement and applications are already progressing at a rapid rate. But what's slowing it down, as fast as it can actually move faster, but what is hindering it is the talent, expertise. So we have very limited people who are experts in AI, blockchain, and IoT. If you're familiar with engineering, in order for you to be an expert engineer or computer scientist or computer engineer or coder or programmer, it takes maybe between 3 years up to 7 years, depending on your ability and your natural ability and all that. It takes maybe between 3 to 7 years, or some people even more, to be a true expert. Because to build state-of-the-art solutions, not the simple solutions, I'm talking about the state-of-the-art solutions that can propel, for instance, Islamic finance or Islamic economic applications forward beyond the conventional guys. You have to build state-of-the-art, or your processes have to be out of the box, like revolutionary. So for you to do so, you have to reach a certain level of competence. That means you have to be a true expert in your area, and it will take time. So that's why we have a shortage, because it takes time. Of course, in 5 years, 10 years time, we would have more and more people who are experts. But currently, we are shortage because to become an expert, it takes time.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Also, in your book, Blockchain and Fintech, and Islamic Finance, talk about cryptos. Now we come to the crypto, the narrow part of it, and exchanges in brief. And while crypto proponents would have wished for a section on crypto application in your subsequent book, how would you envision a crypto that fully adheres to Sharia law?
Oh, okay. I think, cryptocurrency, in order to talk about cryptocurrency, we have to go back to the definition of money, right? So if money is seen as just a means of exchange, then we can build cryptos, properly according to the Sharia, just to satisfy this means of exchange, right? But if you move into cryptocurrency, which are crypto tokens, which is not only a means of exchange but also a store of value, then those tokens can be viewed as investment products. So then, when you have the store of value, it can be used as an investment product. So the Sharia views a currency as a means of exchange, and something which has a store of value as an investment product. They view it differently. Different rules from the Sharia perspective, different rules apply to them, although they are both called cryptocurrency. So we have to be very careful when we speak about cryptocurrency. We have to see the underlying characteristics. Number one, we need to see how, why it was designed, how the reason why this crypto was designed this way. Was it because as a means of exchange, like money to be exchanged because you want something else, like you want to buy a bag, right? The cryptocurrency is just money for you to exchange so that you can obtain the back. It's just a means of exchange. Instead of a store value investment product where you know that it will increase in value in the future. You're not exchanging it for anything. You're buying it because it will increase value in future. So just that's like a store. Yes, something like that. That's a store value. So Sharia rules apply differently for this. So we have to be very careful when we approach matters like this.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So before we proceed to the next question, for those that has just joined us, welcome to our 12th episode of More Than Just Money. With us tonight, Dr. Hazik, with the topic today, digitalization of the modern Islamic economy and what it offers. So Doctor, the next question, okay, follow-up question. Okay, as we know, there's this coin named Kai's coin. Okay, sorry if I pronounce it wrongly, which started development back in 2018. And it literally means a permissible coin in Arabic. Embodies what you envision, although we know that there are also coins such as Bayan, Noor, and others.
Okay.
So is Kai's coin is what you have been, and you have been looking into it?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know much about Kai's coin, but I always see the updates. Some people have sent me the updates that IFN reports the progress of Kai's coins. I don't know why the focus is on Kai's coins, not on other coins. But anyway, I have not looked into Kai's coins very closely, so I have no opinion whether it's something that is permissible, or it really adheres to the Sharia rules closely. I have no opinion on that because I've not looked at it closely. Before my answer to your question was, I tried to be a bit general because cryptocurrency is itself a very complex topic. So we need. It's almost like we need to have a proper study over multiple modules to fully understand this cryptocurrency conundrum. The reason why it's very complex is because it is, when you create a crypto token, essentially you can use it for anything that your imagination can imagine. So once you do that, first thing you need to do is you need to, before you apply the Sharia, you have to categorize the designer of this crypto token. Why did he create this coin, right? So why did he design it this way? What was the intention? And then later, once it's offered to the public, how the public and the market is going to use it. Like for instance, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, non-Muslim guy, as a peer-to-peer exchange. That means it was created as a means of exchange. Bitcoin itself was just a means of exchange for you to allow you, without involving the banks and national currencies of the world, to use this coin so that you can exchange for something else. That was what Satoshi designed it to be. But today people are buying Bitcoin because it's increased in value.
Yeah.
So although it was designed as a currency, a means of exchange, today it's being bought and sold as an investment product. So this is the confusion that we are trying to trying to master.
Is it?
Yeah. So, and this is just one cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. So if I can create another token, let's say Iman token, right? If I create another token, whether I'm using Ethereum or Hyperledger, or I create my own native blockchain, I can call it an Iman token, and I can design this Iman token to satisfy anything that I want to do with it. So in order for me to say Iman token halal or not halal, we have to first look at why and how it was created, and then categorize that. And then later, when it's being used in the market, we have to see how the public and the market is using it, because they could be using it in a way that it wasn't designed for, just like Bitcoin. So then the Sharia rules that apply to it's different. So then if you use it as a means of, like for instance, Bitcoin, if you use it as a means of exchange, it's halal. But if you buy it because of its increase on value, you're trading, money for money, then that's not permissible. Same product. So it depends on how you use it.
Yes.
That's why I say this topic is very, very complex.
Yep. It's really complex. But Dr. Hazik, yes, cryptocurrency is very complex, but everyone, be it we don't know about technology, we are just a layman, and then the FOMO, fear of missing out, and everybody's like, okay, we take just one idea of what we understand about crypto, and then come on, we dive in, but actually crypto is complex, as you mentioned, because if we understand, we read through. So how can we actually create this awareness, or just like tell the people out there how can they perceive cryptocurrency actually?
Okay, very simple. It's something that we already know. So when we were young, our parents and our religious teachers would tell us, okay, for you to deal in something, you need to educate yourself, and you need to seek knowledge to understand before you use something or do something, right?
Yes.
If you if you don't have enough knowledge and you are apprehensive, or in our Malay culture we call it was, what are we told? We are told to refrain.
Yes.
Right? So similar for cryptocurrency. If you find it very complex, the way they design it, they make it so complex because they want to confuse you, just like Lehman Brothers did when they created the subprime mortgage, right? The CDS, the CDOs, right? It's a very exotic product. They make it so complex that because so difficult to understand, but because of the fear of missing out, FOMO, like FOMO, like what you say, right? FOMO, people just jump in because they say that, oh, this is the next big
opportunity.
Thing. Yeah.
We want to be the next billionaire, doctor.
Exactly. So, and they capitalize on that fear. And because we don't look at the underlying product, because if we did not rush in, and Quran says, right, do not haste, do not rush into things, do not haste. For haste is the character of the shaitan. So this is the wisdom of the verses that you're reading in the Quran, right? So if we see the wisdom in that, any new thing that comes, cryptocurrency, any deal of the century, anybody that comes to you, a salesperson that comes to you and they say, oh, this is going to make you the next billionaire and all of that and all of these things, right?
Yeah.
Then you will realize that if you did not haste and you followed what the Sharia or the Quran and the Sunnah is trying to teach you, and they say that when new information comes to you, Surah Hujurat, if you look at Surah Hujurat, there's one verse that says, when a fasik comes to you with new information, investigate before you make a mistake acting on the information that you just received. So these are things that we already know. We read the Quran, we hear this all the time. We know about the was concept,
something that is too familiar to us. But when it comes to cryptocurrency, we also complicate the whole simple thing that we actually have been living with, the simplicity that.
Because of FOMO, because of the fear of missing.
Yeah, true. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for the clear explanation, Doctor. We really understood what is cryptocurrency and the bigger picture of fintech and the bigger picture of blockchain. And next, all right, because of the time, can we proceed to the questions?
Sure.
All right, because we have questions from our participants, from our audience. All right. Let me check. All right, Doctor, there's a question from our audience. How should the Islamic finance industry re-gear itself to better meet the demand for the financial inclusion and the sustainability?
Financial inclusion and sustainability.
Yes.
Okay. I think we have a lot of social institutions. Some of the most powerful Islamic institutions that we have throughout our history has been our social financial institutions. So these are institutions that you already know, wakaf, zakat, sadaqah, and things like that. So you have the involuntary you have the voluntary institutions where it's wakaf and sadaqah,
Yes.
and then you have something which is compulsory, which is your zakat. So only zakat is part of your rukun Islam, right? So that is compulsory for you to do. That you have to give on zakat fitrah, zakat harta, and all these things. Why I say that these are very powerful institutions, because in the Western world, as they get advanced, right? As nations move from emerging, developing, developed, and advanced economies, what happens along the way as they get richer and richer, the inequality between the citizens increase. That means the rich get richer, the poor get poorer.
There will be a very huge gap. Yeah.
There will be a very huge gap. But if you look at purely Islamic communities, that inequality gap is much lower. Why? Because of these strong social finance institutions. For instance, zakat takes 2.5% from the rich and gives it to the 8 asnafs.
Yes.
Right? 8 asnafs. Asnafs means beneficiaries. 8 beneficiaries. And 2 of the 8 beneficiaries are the fakir and the miskin. Right? So to the poor. So you take, when you have a gap of rich and poor, you take money from the rich and you give it to the poor, the inequality gap reduces. In the secular or conventional world, they don't have that kind of institution that does it, that is compulsory. Right? They have the voluntary charity and all that, but they don't have a system that is compulsory, mandatory, like the zakat system. We also have the voluntary, like the sadaqah, infaq, and wakaf, but the zakat is the one that reduces the inequality gap. So these are institutions which we take for granted, right? So for instance, Basnas is a zakat agency that was created to look into zakat collection and zakat distribution for Indonesia. It's short for, Jabatan something and zakat, right? So in Indonesia they like to shorten and then call it as Basnas, right? So Basnas says that, Basnas research says that if everybody pays their zakat in Indonesia and they collect and there are no leakages, that means they collect and they distribute to the 8 asnaf, there will be no poverty in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Currently, 50% of the Indonesian population is living below the poverty line. And this is the most populous Islamic nation. So this is how powerful a simple institution like the zakat institution is. But there are 2 conditions for us to regain its power. Number 1, people need to pay their zakat. Number 2, once the zakat payment is collected, you need to distribute it properly. That means no leakages into people's pockets and all this other nonsense. You need to go only into the 8 asnaf. Because for zakat, if you read the Quran says zakat should only go into these 8 beneficiaries, not anyone else. Only these 8, the fakir, miskin, I forgot all this.
The Ibn Sabil and then
So we need to follow. These are the forms, right? We need to follow. If it's supposed to go to the 8, you just go to the 8 beneficiaries. Other beneficiaries will tap into the infaq, sadaqah, and wakaf pool. Okay, so there is wisdom why a mandatory system is supposed to serve these 8 beneficiaries. There's wisdom in that. So there's divine wisdom. We follow what Allah says. If you want to know more, you have to investigate. You can do your PhD on that and find out the wisdom. and
The research behind it.
publish book.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Doctor, for the encouragement.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Next, there's a question here. Maybe the understanding of selfless at the beginning of our talk just now, right? So this person asked, the concept of being selfless is imperative for Muslim organization in any field, but is it widely practiced by Muslim organization themselves? Very specific question, Doctor.
I think this one also most people already know. We know that Islam is perfect, Muslims are not. So likewise, organizations are made of people. It's not made of ideals or concepts. It's made of people and their behaviors. The collection, an organization is a collection of behaviors of individual human beings. So if the individual member of the organization behave in an un-Islamic manner, although they profess to be Muslims, then the organization, whether it's a Muslim organization or non-Muslim organization, it will act in a very un-Islamic or immoral manner. So my thesis was on behavioral economics. Why I chose behavioral economics was after studying conventional economic system and conventional financial system, and then studying the Islamic financial system and Islamic economic system, I came to a point of realization that these are just systems, right? The people who uphold systems are actually people. So what affects people to behave in a certain way? So this is why I went into research of behavioral economics, which is the study of how people behave and how people make decisions. So I wanted to know what affects a person when they say one thing, but they do another thing. So this is, to cut a long story short, if you can read the first book that I wrote, Belief and Rule Compliance, the book discusses
about the behavioral, is it the conclusion to the topic that you're gonna talk, Doctor?
Yeah, it discusses what impacts a human being in every decision that's trying to make. So emotions, values, your upbringing, your culture, your social surroundings, your environment, your state of mind, and all these things. So it is very easy to comment, to say, why do you profess to be Muslim while you behave un-Islamic? It's very easy for us to pass that kind of judgment. But when you really study what impacts the way people behave, you start to realize that, why, the really astute Islamic scholars of our time says that when you look inside yourself, then you realize how complex the human being is than when you look out into the universe. So that scholar was trying to say that, we study the stars, the universe, we are so in awe. We look at the stars, we look at the comets, and we are like, oh, wow, we look at the moon and the stars, we're like, wow, it's so complex. How can we ever understand our universe? But this scholar says that when you look inside yourself, it is more complex than that.
Even more complex. Oh.
So very easy for us to say, why you profess this, but you do another thing. But when you really study how people make decisions, then you start to realize how complex the human beings, and then you start to realize why Allah make us pray 5 times a day. Allah, why make us fast, 1 month every year? Because all this is actually training or you can say protection for you, right? Your salah is your protection, right? It's actually training and keeping your mindset, right? Your state of mind in a manner that whenever there's a decision to be made, because your state of mind, you're always in state of wudu, or you're always doing your salah, you're always fasting and controlling your ego and your nerves and all these things, that when a decision point comes to you at any point in your life, you're able to make the correct decision. Correct meaning according to what the Quran and Sunnah wants you to behave, right? So this is what we call as ihsan, right? You behave in a way like as if God is always watching you. Because even though you don't see God, you know that He's always watching you. So this is the what we call as taqwa. You know, every Friday prayers, we always pray for taqwa, taqwa. This is what, in economic terms, what taqwa means. For you to be in that state, right? Not easy, right? Not easy, because we are overcome by anger, we are overcome by tiredness, laziness, procrastination. We are overcome by many things, right? You behave well when you got promoted, but when your boss is screaming at you, the same person will behave in a very uncharacteristic manner.
Okay.
So taqwa means you are in the state of in a position to make the right decision, or to choose the right way in whatever condition that you're put in.
So this is rational, sensible and rational? No.
Beyond that.
Beyond that.
Beyond that. So taqwa is to be a muttaqin is to be, you know, at that level at all times, every time. So it is a state of mind that we need to strive for, but very difficult to always remain in that position. But we always pray for taqwa, because we know that when you are in that place, nothing affects you, right? Your iman takes over and nothing affects you, and you're constantly making the right things. So whether you're working on a tech application, or you're dealing with a difficult customer, or you're dealing with a difficult boss, or you're dealing with a difficult family member or whoever, if you're in that place, inshallah, you are fine, because you're acting in the way the Quran and Sunnah is prescribing to you. If you can understand what I mean.
Yes, doctor. It's just that the broaden, it is really wide, like for Islamic finance, and how the taqwa is being put inside it, and then how it actually, the behavior, which is the understanding of economy. So it's like peeling an onion, you know, you see the whole layers right now, and then we can have the complete, and that's Islam, the way of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So hence we love to hear from you, doctor, but time is not on our side. So to continue listening to you, we need to read your words through your books, Belief and Rule Compliance, I guess, on the behavioral economics, so that we feel that Dr. Hazik is talking to us and conveying to us the additional explanation, which is, I really get it. I mean, it's so interesting, and I love to read the whole of you have 3 books, right, doctor?
Yes.
So the recently was the Beyond Fintech, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So we all need to start reading Dr. Hazik writings right now, to continue listening to his wisdom, and to continue the understanding of one that I'm really interested in, the behavior, the one that you have just explained just now. So with that, thank you so much, Dr. Hazik. Thank you so much to everyone. And I believe there's a lot more, and we definitely love to hear more from you. Okay, but again, time is on our side. Thank you so much, and do look out on IFLSG Space for the next episode for More Than Just Money series, a series for anything that Islamic finance related. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Hazik. Thank you so much, everyone. And see you again. Good night and stay safe. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you for having me.